Guys, welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. A little late here this morning. We'll get to that in just a second why, but the NBA draft lottery is absolutely stupid, and Trey Hendrickson appears to be on the block again, so I won't waste any more of your time. Let's go.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like calluses. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. There's a lot of things to get into, so that way I won't keep you guys waiting. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, potentially even tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. Some of you guys are like, wow, Ben looks really rested, and potentially it's because, you know, he's a little bit later to be on the show today. We start usually at 7. You know, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It was about 10, 15 minutes ago that I woke up where it was 6:11 a.m. I looked at it and I go, wait a second. It's 6:11 a.m. I'm going to take another hour to myself. It wasn't until I laid back down that I realized, oh no, it's 7:15, which is usually the time that we'll get the show rolling. So it happens. Won't do it again. Maybe I will. I'm not perfect. But the NBA draft lottery is super dumb. Just absolutely stupid. There is so many adjectives that I would like to use to describe how stupid the draft lottery is, but there's not enough in the world to perfectly capture how I think about the draft lottery. It is absurdly stupid. Just absurdly stupid. And you know, Steven, that's a great point. Maybe I just have an NBA draft lottery hangover. The fact that we'll get into all the nitty-gritty in just a minute here, but let me just rant about the national nonsense because I need to. The fact that the Dallas Mavericks just get a get-out-of-jail-free card is absurdly dumb. And when the NBA got these results for the draft lottery, they should have just changed it up, even if it wasn't rigged. Because there's no reason they didn't think everyone was going to say, holy cow, this feels potentially rigged. Do you guys know there is a 0.0114 chance of the Sixers getting the third seed? Of the Sixers getting the third pick, the Spurs getting the 2 pick, and the Dallas Mavericks getting the 1 pick in that order. I am not NBA conspiracy theorist. There's only one theory that I think I believe, and it's the frozen envelope theory about Patrick Ewing going to the New York Knicks. It was 1985, if I'm not mistaken. It was obviously an NBA draft lottery. The NBA needed to boost their ratings, and what better way to do so than get Patrick Ewing in New York? That is potentially the only NBA draft lottery theory or sports theory that I believe. But last night, if you are someone that is like, oh, it's all rigged, it's all scripted, it's all stupid, you won last night, buddy. Because you get to throw out the most believable conspiracy theory in the world that the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic in a hush-hush, shake hands agreement that you would get Cooper Flag in April. And just so I can continue to complain for a second, and then I'll get into what it means for a potential Kevin Durant trade, because there is different avenues now. I think if you're talking about if a Kevin Durant trade is less likely, more likely, helped out the Suns, hurt the Suns' chances of getting back a decent haul, you are definitely back in the, oh, it helped a little bit. Nothing crazy, didn't swing the pendulum either direction, but it did help a little bit. There is no way the Dallas Mavericks get a do-over. It is so stupid that in the NBA, in the NHL as well, that there's a draft lottery. Any league that does the draft lottery, I've been saying this for about 15 years now. It is stupid. The fact that you can lose as many games as the Wizards, the Hornets, and the Jazz did, and 2 of them fell out of the top 4, absolutely asininely bad. Just horrendous. And the fact that you are like, oh, well, it's chaos, it's stupid. This is why the NFL is king. This is why my viewership does the best for the NFL. People like my people like my Suns talk. People like my Diamondbacks talk. People love my Cardinals talk, which is why pretty much every single show I'm going to talk about the Cardinals if I can. Sometimes there's just nothing to go on. Luckily for you, Trey Hendrickson is holding out in a deal, so we'll get to that in a little bit here. And Spider brings up a good point. There are 2 scenarios to last night. The worst scenario was the worst one by far and it wouldn't have been close. If the Suns would have won the draft lottery last night, that would have been the worst avenue because you're giving Cooper Flag to someone for nothing. And I would have came on here the next day and did a whole rant about how you got to trade Devin Booker for the number 1 overall pick. You got to dangle that pick in front of the Rockets, or you got to dangle that player in front of the Rockets, and that would have been terrible. No one would have liked to do that. Whether you think it would have happened or not, no one would have wanted to go there. But the second worst thing that happened last night was the Dallas Mavericks getting the number 1 overall pick. And everyone's saying, oh, the poor Mavericks, their fan base deserves it. I know they traded Luka, but they got half a season of the season from hell. I've been living it for 20-something years now. I don't feel that bad for the Mavericks. I think your GM is stupid, and I think you were more than less screwed before, but you didn't exactly experience the season from hell for that long. It was like 4 months. You're fine. Suck it up. And now you get Cooper Flag. It is so stupid that dumb organizations are given a get-out-of-jail-free card like that. The fact that the Dallas Mavericks won the Cooper Flag sweepstakes last night because they made stupid decision after stupid decision and self-imploded their own team, that would never happen to the Phoenix Suns. This is poor boy self-esteem last night. That would never happen. If the Suns had the number 1 overall pick, traded away Devin Booker for God knows what reason, they would never get as lucky as the Mavericks did. Anyone who talks about the NBA, the NFL, any sports league being rigged, you won last night because last night felt like the most rigged thing ever. I won't go down the avenue that the NBA is rigged. I think it would be far too hard to keep everything in lockstep and make sure no one says a peep. But that would never happen to the Suns. It would never happen. And so the fact that the Mavericks get to be rewarded for stupidity is ridiculous. Think about if the Suns had their pick last night and they won the draft lottery. We wouldn't talk about the fact that they have no picks. We wouldn't talk about it they're in the second apron. We wouldn't talk about how they have to trade Kevin Durant. And that's exactly what they're doing in Dallas today. Dallas, the arrow is pointed squarely up. It was pointed so far down they were in the depths of Hades. The Suns feel that way too. But the fact that one of them got Cooper Flag, you talk about one of the top 5 teams in the NFL, in the NBA with the most potential, you have to throw the Dallas Mavericks in that hall now. So it is asininely stupid. The fact that we still do a draft lottery and the Charlotte, Washington, and Utah fans have to go through another year of a rebuild because they have nothing to help them get back to where they need to go is so asininely stupid. It's ridiculous. It's dumb. The fact that they do it is stupid. Okay, how does this affect? How does the ridiculous, stupid, dumb NBA draft lottery affect Kevin Durant's trade value? Well, there's 3 avenues now that I think are at least a little bit more likely than they were yesterday to happen. The Houston Rockets get the 10th overall pick. Their pick, that was originally the Suns, actually got worse. They fell in the draft. So now you're talking about the best potential offer from the Rockets being Eason, the 10th overall pick, and Jabari Smith Jr. And of course, a salary cap filler that can come from a third team. We're just talking about the core of a deal. So last night, I think you see now what the pick is. If you can get the 10th overall pick, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, as the core of a deal for Kevin Durant, I think that scratches everyone's backs. The Rockets still have picks to give in a different trade from the Suns. They're not losing anything of crazy value. You lose Jabari Smith, you lose Jabari Smith, you lose Tari Eason, you input Kevin Durant. You go back to being squarely one of the NBA Finals favorites next year. So that is really interesting to me. And then you go to option number 2. This is one that I think is, again, a little bit more likely than less likely. Than a little bit more likely than it was the night before. If you can get Keldon Johnson and the number 2 overall pick from the Spurs for Kevin Durant, that's really interesting. Don't try to tell me how valuable the number 2 pick is. No one has said anything about Dylan Harper of Rutgers being able to come here and fix everything the Phoenix Suns are doing. So if you could get him, Dylan Harper basically, and I want to make sure I'm saying the kid's name right, so apologies right away. But yeah, in a trade, the San Antonio Spurs, if they only offered Keldon Johnson and the number 2 overall pick, which would be Dylan Harper in any deal, would you take that? I think you would. And if you're the San Antonio Spurs, you keep your entirety of your young core together. You don't have to trade Castle to the Bucks. You don't have to gut your roster for Giannis Antetokounmpo. You get Kevin Durant, top 10 player of all time, who I think has some of the same production, at least offensively, that Giannis does. If you lined up Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kevin Durant, I still would take Kevin Durant. The all-around better player is Giannis because of his defensive efforts. But Kevin Durant is not no schmuck defensively. Offensively, Giannis is good 5 feet from the rim. Everything else offensively, Kevin Durant is better than. So if you're the Spurs and you could get Kevin Durant for Keldon Johnson and the number 2 pick, which would effectively be Harper and Keldon Johnson as the core of a trade, and then get the salary cap filler figured out, that could be a third team. There's a lot of creative ways to do that. That becomes my new favorite trade. And if you're the Spurs, why do you do it? Well, pretty simply. I keep my young core together. I only have to give up 1 pick. And I get Kevin freaking Durant. That makes me instant NBA Finals contenders next season. And then that brings me to a disgusting last point. So if you're the Spurs and you see that trade, I think it makes it at least as appealing as Giannis because you don't have to gut your roster. And Kevin Durant to the Spurs makes them instant Finals contenders, interesting and fun for a number 2 overall pick that we're not sure is going to work out in the NBA. Number 2 overall picks don't work out a lot of the time. So the Suns are taking a big risk. So Keldon Johnson, number 2 overall pick for Kevin Durant. Who says no? I don't think the Spurs just hang up the phone. Here's the third one. Here's the really disgusting one. Disgusting one. What if the Philadelphia 76ers with the 3rd overall pick call the Suns and say, hey, you want to go into full rebuild mode? We'll give you the number 4 overall pick. Take back Paul George for us. And we'll give you something else. Just a quick little filler. This is you're not getting what you wanted for Kevin Durant in offers. You realize you're not going to be able to build a decent team around Devin Booker for the time being. If you want to go into a massive rebuild and just take every other team's crappy contracts for a couple of seasons while you stockpile picks, would you trade Kevin Durant for Paul George, another player, and the number 3 overall pick? And this is you conceding you're just going into a full rebuild. You potentially trade Devin Booker. Who knows what you could get for that? I don't want to do any of this. I'm just giving you options. You trade Devin Booker. You bring in picks. You bring in a couple of players. That's interesting to me. The Sixers get another guy who they could use for their championship run that fits their window now with Maxey and McCain and Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid. That sucks for the Suns. It's not fun. But you do get a high pick. And you know what you are. You're tanking. And you have Bradley Beal and you have Paul George and you stick it out for a couple years. You move Devin Booker. You get everything you need. You need to tank and bring in the players that would help this team do that. For now. For 2 seasons. And then we go back to figuring out how to make the best Phoenix Suns team. I understand if you just hit the unsubscribe button. That is disgusting. But I can't lie and say it doesn't make a little bit of sense. So we're going to dive deeper into all different draft lottery ideas and trades for Kevin Durant. But immediately those are the 3 that stuck out to me last night. Houston, the 10th overall pick, Jabari Smith and Tyree Eason. The 2nd overall pick in Keldon Johnson. Or the 76ers, 3rd overall pick, a player, Paul George for Kevin Durant. And Steven makes a good point. I might just be talking about the Diamondbacks at that point with the Suns being as awful as they would be to watch. Okay. Aaron, the reason why I don't want to trade for Mikal Bridges is because I don't want to get back together with my ex. I hope that helps. Let's move on to something that is not as depressing. Because let's be honest, last night was depressing. I mean, even if the Suns didn't hand Cooper Flagg to someone, it's just, I will be upset about that for the entirety of Cooper Flagg's career. There's no way, there's no reason why someone gets to have that. You screwed up. You don't get that. You don't get a do-over pill. But they do, and everyone's happy, and it's stupid, and I hope the NBA gets hit with a bunch of conspiracy theories because they deserve it. So absolutely asininely dumb. Okay. I need to chill out. I need to relax. I need to talk about things that are a little bit more promising. Trey Hendrickson is realizing, just like everyone else in this world, that the Bengals are cheap. Very cheap organization. So what does that mean for the Trey Hendrickson Arizona Cardinals debate? Could he be here? Could it be someone that the Cardinals actually go after? You know, guys, 2.5 months ago, when the Trey Hendrickson stuff kind of started. So that would have put us we're in May right now, April, March, maybe a little bit earlier than that, before free agency. If you would have asked me, could the Arizona Cardinals go get Trey Hendrickson? And I made shorts about this. If you don't want to watch the full videos, go watch the 1-minute shorts. I said, yeah, go get Trey Hendrickson. 2nd round pick? Yeah, just make it happen. This defensive line needs someone that can anchor it. Guys, I'm not there anymore. This defensive line is more than capable. I feel like Colin Cowherd when he talks about Ben Simmons and the LeBron James thing. We're good. Like, you can come here. I will trade for you. But like Ivan, a guy who I love, who's always in the chat and supports this channel, no way in hell am I giving up a 2nd round pick for Trey Hendrickson now. No. That'd be bad negotiating. The Bengals have tied their hands. They told everyone they wanted a 1st round pick for Trey Hendrickson or an early 2nd round pick. That's what was kind of reported. I'm good. Let me put it to you like this. Would you trade Trey Hendrickson for Will Johnson right now? Because that's what you would effectively be giving up if you traded a 2nd round pick. If the Cardinals can get Trey Hendrickson, awesome. I want him here. I'd give him a contract. But I'm not the beholden anymore. This defensive line, did you see what Jonathan Gannon did with the Cardinals defensive line last year? It was Baron Browning and a bunch of nobodies. and he still got pressure with them. He's got Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, Baron Browning, who's still here, Jordan Birch, Josh Sweat. Like, it's a completely revamped defensive line. Darius Robinson in year 2. B.J. Ojolari is coming back. I want Trey Hendrickson here. But in the same breath, I'm not giving up as much as I would have pre-complete makeover of the Cardinals' defensive line. The Cardinals aren't in desperate need to get Trey Hendrickson. So if the Bengals want to play ball and will take a third-round pick for him, knowing that the Cardinals are going to have to give him a very hefty contract for 2 seasons, then let's do it. I'm down. Let's play ball. But what Trey Hendrickson is learning, like a lot of players have learned over the years, is that the Cincinnati Bengals are cheap. They went out and drafted Shamar Stewart in hopes that he would be ready to take on the world and a physical freak. Yeah, he's already holding out because of a rookie contract. Absolutely asininely stupid. Very similar to the NBA draft lottery. Just asininely stupid. But Trey Hendrickson, again, guys, I want him here. But you don't get a lot of chances to push the chips in. If you are going and getting Trey Hendrickson, you are putting yourself in full go-for-it mode. And as much as I think the Arizona Cardinals should be doing everything they can to get into the playoffs next year, I don't know if Trey Hendrickson changes them going to the playoffs or not. I think either way, with or without him, because of this revamped defensive line, that they're going to be a playoff team. So 2.5 months ago isn't the same price as today. I would have given you a second-round pick 2.5 months ago. You wanted to play hardball. You wanted to try to get a first-round pick out of everyone. That's a you issue. That's not a me issue. You shouldn't have decided to play hardball then. You knew you were not going to pay Trey Hendrickson. So if you're the Arizona Cardinals, of course I want Trey Hendrickson here. Good player. Dominant. But I'm not giving you a second-round pick anymore. I'll give you a third-round pick, and I'll pay him. You don't have to do that. I'll take him off your books. And I want him here. He'd be an anchor on this defensive line. Opposite Josh Sweat, just like, let's indulge in fantasy land for a second. Imagine a defensive line now with Trey Hendrickson on it. Oh my goodness, talk about scaring other opposing quarterbacks. Holy crap, man. I mean, it gets me excited just thinking about him being here. But I'm not pushing all my chips in the table in what is not a Super Bowl or bust season. I'm not just giving away a second-round pick to give away a second-round pick. You only get to push all the chips in the table once. Do I want to do that for Trey Hendrickson? Do I want to give up a second-round pick? I'm good. I want him here. I'll take him for the next 2 seasons. I'll give you a third-round pick. But I'm not in as dire need as I used to be. Like, guys, think about it. 2.5 months ago, we were not here. 2.5 months ago, we didn't have any of these players that helped revamp this defensive line. You don't need him anymore. I want him. I hope the Cardinals can find a way to get him. 17.5 sacks in back-to-back seasons is nothing to scoff at. But I'm not just going to give in to the Bengals' demands. You're playing on my turf now. So, if you want to go Super Bowl or bust, sure, Trey Hendrickson is your guy. I don't know if this year, This year is not Super Bowl or bust. This year is just playoffs or bust. And I'd much rather wait till next year to potentially get a Micah Parsons or a different pass rusher of note to push all my chips on the table for. Trey Hendrickson is a safe, smart move. He'd work out. I wouldn't blame Monty if he did it. Hell, if the Cardinals gave up a second-round pick today for Trey Hendrickson, I would still say, that feels like a little bit too much, but I get it. And I would have been okay with it. So, Trey Hendrickson is not getting paid by the Bengals. They're not doing it. They're a cheap organization. They're a third-tier organization. The Arizona Cardinals Trey Hendrickson makes a ton of sense, and I'm for it. But yesterday's price is not today's price. You want Trey Hendrickson? You want to give him away? You want to move on from those problems because you put yourself in it? We'll give you a third-round pick. But we revamped our defensive line. We got Walter Nolan, Dalvin Tomlinson, Calais Campbell, Josh Sweat. We got dudes, Darius Robinson. We got dudes out the wazoo. We don't need you. You need us. So I want to make it happen. I hope it happens. But I'm not gutting my future to get Trey Hendrickson. Because remember, you have to pay him too. And it's going to be a hefty deal for the next 2 years. What if someone becomes available on the free agency market? Do you want to be strung up to Trey Hendrickson? 2.5 months ago I would have been. But not as much anymore. So it makes a lot of sense. And any Cardinal fan in my comment section that's like, oh, we got to get Trey Hendrickson. We have to go get him. Whether it's Ivan, whether it's Aaron, whether it's my guy Steven in the chat, any one of you guys. If you guys want to do that, I totally get it. But we're not in as desperate need as we used to be. We've got a revamped line. We've got Jonathan Gannon. It's going to work out fine. But what I won't do is just give away a second-round pick and then pay him. I want Trey Hendrickson here. You want Trey Hendrickson here. But it's a beautiful place to be where the Cardinals don't have to get him now. And I think it's very possible that they do. But what is more likely is someone who is desperate and didn't do free agency in the NFL draft right, like the Arizona Cardinals did, will give up more than the Cardinals will give up and give him a bigger deal than the Cardinals would have given him because that's what dumb organizations do. They panic and they go trade and get players to help put a patch on the Flex Seal patch on the boat sinking. That's what Steve Keim used to do, guys. Steve Keim was never about drafting and developing. He was, crap, I screwed up the draft again. Let's go trade for someone. This would be the biggest all-in move that the Cardinals have done in probably 8 seasons. It'd be bigger than J.J. Watt. It's not bigger than Chandler Jones, but it's probably as big as Chandler Jones. And so I don't know if the Cardinals are going to do that yet. And as much as I would do a third-round pick for Trey Hendrickson, I just don't know if the Cincinnati Bengals would take that because of pride, arrogance, whatever it is. So that's kind of my point there, Aaron. All right, guys. You know what's crazy? I almost canceled today's show because, I'm beat. I'm tired. That's, it's one of the reasons why it took me a second to get up and get on here. I accidentally overslept. I'm beaten. I'm battered. But I'm so committed to doing this that I was just like, I'm going to do a show anyways. And I went from having no stories to talk about to this was a jam-packed show. The draft lottery is stupid, and I'll take Trey Hendrickson to the Arizona Cardinals if it makes sense. So I appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Guys, that does a huge solid for me. If you could just hit the like button, potentially even comment, it gets it in the algorithm. That's why your favorite host asks for likes. So if you could just like, share, subscribe, to potentially even tell a friend, that'd be awesome. This show continues to grow, and that's another reason why I don't take days off for my scheduled work days. So also, I want to have another Saturday conversation on the Ben Garcia Show with another prominent media member. Let me know who you guys want that to be. Either someone from the Diamondbacks, someone from the Suns, someone from the Cardinals. Whoever you want on this show. I've got decent relationships everywhere. Comment that down below. Put it in the chat. I will look into it and see if I can get that person here. Potentially whatever person in the comment section gets the most likes. I would like to do that as well. So until tomorrow at 7 a.m., and actually 7 a.m., which is more likely 7:15, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, more likely 10:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you guys tomorrow. It's been the Ben Garcia Show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. And guys, hit me up on social media at Ben Garcia Show. I love interacting with you guys. Until then, I'm Benjamin Garcia. And what? It's been the Ben Garcia Show.